Welcome, everybody, to the Fantasy Golf Insider Webcast and Podcast. I'm Jeff Bergerson, joined, as always, by my partner, Zachary Turcotte. We're with FantasyGolfInsider.com, your number one resource for everything fantasy golf, golf betting, and, of course, DFS golf. Come check us out today. Become a premium member. If you're on the fence about becoming a premium member, you should talk to the hundreds of people we hear from every single week who are letting us know how much they're winning playing DFS, winning in golf bets. I got some shout outs to give, Zachary. It might take a little bit. Our Twitter account kind of blew up yesterday and today. So I just wanted to address and acknowledge some of those people who are doing well, making money. The process is working for them. We'll start with Robert Hauser. He took second in the $6,000 divot contest on DraftKings. Rob Banneman won the quarter arcade. Darren Poston took second in the $3,000 approach shot. Our boy Parm Man continues to win. Seems like every week we hear from him. Dan Insinga, Ken Melkowitz, Dave Schmock, Scott Donnelly, all said they had winning weeks.
There's a few others too.
Ryan Carlson hit Hadwin at 80-1. I saw that screenshot. Chad Henderson took second in the $40,000 Eagle contest. Longtime subscriber Hank Pizur won the $10,000 bunker contest, and on and on and on.
Yeah, I think we had guys who took 12th in the birdie, 29th in the birdie. I think Paul Bertini was 44th in the birdie.
So Pat McCormick was like 29th in the birdie.
Yeah, so we had just people all over the place. I mean, we hit for all of those who are fans of myself and Jeff Feinberg, we had Hadwin in as a 100-1 shot. He was a part of our pick six for the last week. So that's 3 out of 4 weeks in a row that we've hit a winner over there. I think cumulatively we're up about 70 units overall on the season. So we had been off to a little bit of a slow start in the opening weeks. We had a couple chalk winners, but boom, you hit a 100-1 shot, your whole season is made. So we'll look to continue in our success on that. And it's kind of like I was relating to Jeff before on the podcast that we were doing before we did the show here tonight. It really helps if you've been a DFS player to then transition into doing a little bit of handicapping, because a guy like Adam Hadwin, you didn't see him a lot on TV last year.
No.
But his game was improving and evolving. And same with the beginning of this season. Obviously, he shot the 59. That got him on everybody's radar a little bit. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of TV time for him. There's not a lot of TV time for guys who are coming in 30th place or so. But as fantasy golf fans and as DFS fans, we're watching every shot.
Right.
I mean, we're watching all 72 holes. So we see what's happening. We see his approach game improving. Obviously, watching him over the weekend, just an amazing putter.
It's fun to watch. I love watching a good putter.
Oh, my God. It's just so much cleaner.
I know.
And then he's hitting putts from 50 feet. That
was awesome.
It was unbelievable. So we hit that, which was fantastic, which was exciting. So if you haven't checked out our podcast with Jeff Feinberg and myself, be sure to take a look at that. We get into it for a good 45 minutes, usually an hour or so every week.
And for those cheap screws who weren't willing to pony up the $3 a week that it costs to become a member, you lost out.
Yeah, I mean, so it is for our subscribers, and I know a few folks within the world think that everything is owed to them for free, but fuck those people. Like, this is a fucking business.
They're outraged. I love that on Twitter. You guys are charging for your information?
I can't get to the block button fast enough on Twitter when those idiots are out there trying to troll us.
They're probably watching this because it's free on YouTube.
I know, exactly. So it's directly to them. So we are trying to run a business here, but we try to make it affordable. I think
absolutely
the prices that we've charged, it's been very affordable for all the different tools, all the different articles, podcasts, everything that we offer. So hopefully, and we want to keep it for our subscribers too. We get feedback every once in a while. You guys are giving out too much information on the Webcast podcast. You're giving out too much on Periscope, and so we're doing our best here to try to make sure that that we're not going to screw over our subscribers, and we do want to save some stuff for those folks. So.
Congratulations to everybody. If I missed you, I apologize. We were flooded with winners, so do it again. Hit us up next week and let us know, and we'll be sure to try and get you on there. Congratulations to everybody. Let's keep the momentum going into the Masters. Before we talk a little bit about Valspar, one thing I want to address is I have gotten a couple questions from people who are doing well in the birdie, right? but they want to know what's going to put them over the top to win that thing.
Oh my God.
And I have to say, it's going to take everything. It's going to take your process. It's going to take your lineup building. And if you haven't used our lineup builder, that is a tremendous tool that you need to use. But it's going to take everything to fall in place for you because it's so difficult. The biggest pros out there who max enter the birdie every single week, including us, hardly ever win it.
Yeah,
it's that difficult.
I was excited because I was sitting in 5th place after the cut, and I felt like I had a great lineup. The only guys who were in front of me at that point were guys who had Jim Herman, and one guy had actually had Justin Thomas, but was still managed to be near the top 5. And I thought, okay, well, I'm locked in here with Stenson. I'm locked in here with Hadley, or with Hadwin, and with Henley up at the top there.
Yep.
And then 3 other guys, I had CH3, I had Wesley Bryan, and then Lucas Glover.
Right.
And I thought, well, Lucas Glover, he'll probably slide back a little bit, but CH3's been so good.
Right.
You know, if he can just take off, Henley's up near the top here already. If he can hold, and it just took, Glover fell back a little bit. CH3 fell off a cliff the last 2 days. Everybody else, top 10. Finish, obviously we get the win out of Hadwin. A lot of people own him. Stenson did well, and Bryan actually rallied back, and Henley rallied back to close off. But one guy fell back in CH3, and I go from 5th place on Friday to 146th place at the end of the weekend. Instead of winning $3,000, I win $50 or $75 on that ticket. So that's where it gets to be really important when you're entering GPPs. I know a lot of people like the events where I'm just going to fire 1 bullet or 3 bullets, and that's fine. I mean, yes, that is going to be a test of your skill level, but it's just a different type of game.
Right.
And with the birdie, the goal is, and why I'm so aggressive with my GPP strategy is, I want to have 3 or 4 weeks out of 40 during the season where I hit everything perfect.
Yep.
And I've got 50
you have many shots
to 75 shots of teams right in that top range, so that when one guy goes bad, like Charles Howell III did over the weekend, I've got another lineup there that's virtually identical, but somebody else moving up in the other direction. That's really our goal with getting over the top. So if you're putting in 2-3 entries into the birdie, it's like flipping pennies into a fountain and making a wish. It's going to be really tough to fire that one perfect bullet.
And that's our approach. Someone mentioned, he sees the top pros rostering like 40 to 70 guys, and just spreading really thin. Our strategy is to narrow that down. We're not going to spread it so thin. We want more shots on the weeks that we do hit. It'll be less frequent, but we're going to have more shots at winning the big prize, which is what we want.
Because here's the thing yesterday. If you had 60, 70 guys, and say you were fortunate enough that you found Patrick Cantlay, but you had him on 2 of your 150 teams.
Exactly.
What were the odds that those teams were good enough to get through?
Yep.
Now, that's another point actually to bring up, is that Jason Rowsland, our staff writer, who was down in Tampa last week, was very big on Cantlay. Actually had him on 25% of his dogleg teams. And so, that's a big difference right there. I mean, you really have to commit to some of these guys. And that's why I never really understand when I see, a lot of the pros, they build 150 lineups and they'll have one golfer on one of their teams. Like, what are you hoping to accomplish? If you had Jim Herman on one of your teams last week, well, the odds are the other 5 guys weren't perfect around him.
So that when you do hit Jim Herman...
So you hit Jim Herman, but you probably had 2 other guys miss the cut. Right. So it was really inconsequential. And so that's why our philosophy is really, at least throw them on to 3 to 5 of your lineups. If you're doing 100... If you're going to play a guy at all, 3 to 5%, I think, is kind of a minimum.
Bare minimum.
Exactly.
I hardly never do even 5%. I usually do 8% is usually my lowest.
And I've usually got 3 or 4 guys that are kind of in that 5 to 10% kind of range on the low end there. But that is that's really big. You want to be able to, if you're going to advance within the birdie, you want to build your bankroll up large enough so that you can put in 100 to 150 lineups each week. And if you can't do that, well, then just drop down. Play in the dollar one. Play in the
look at our guys winning. The divot, the approach shot, all these, some are max entry. Those are great.
To max out the quarter arcade, it's $12.50.
Yep.
You can only build 50 lineups to put into the thing, but it's a perfect place to start practicing.
Sure. Yep.
And it's a grinder's pace to kind of play, but you're going to build up your bankroll very slowly. You're gonna iron out some of the issues in terms of your process overall, and you're gonna see improvement over time, and you'll slowly see your bankroll build.
If you're going to do 1 or 2 teams, play in those 3 max entry games, the smaller contests, so you have
an equal shot.
A shot with some of these pros who are max entering.
That's the goal. I mean, you really want to be playing in events where you're on equal footing, and so that's why when we step it up, we don't have the $1 million bankroll that some of these guys do. But if we step up and we want to play in like the country club for $1,000 or something, each guy's got 1 entry.
That's right.
And I think they went up to 2 with one of their events. But you can find a $500 event where everybody's got 1 entry within the week. So, again, you're playing your best team against their best team. And then all of a sudden, the real skill kind of comes out in terms of the guys that you're able to select and the money that you can win. So,
if you want to give yourself the best chance to win, also be sure to check out Zach's 3-part GPP column. It's on the website, the lower part of the page. We gather data all year around on the winners' teams. Zach analyzes it and writes a great 3-part series. So be sure to check that out if you're serious about having a shot in GPPs and knowing exactly what the winning rosters look like. So you want to talk a little bit about Valspar? I'll give you 3 minutes to sum it up. Besides Adam Hadwin,
it was an exciting. Yeah, that was terrifying. I mean, it just when he hit the ball into the water on 16. I mean, we've had such crazy luck with things like that. I mean, you get 100-1 odds on a guy, and you're 3 holes away from chasing down a win, and he's up by 2 shots. You're feeling comfortable. You're thinking, well, he's playing so steady, par, and this thing's over because there's no way Cantlay's birdieing 2 of the last 3 holes here to catch him. And then he went in the water. It was like the one mistake he really made all weekend, because other than that, I thought he had a great game plan for most of Saturday and most of Sunday too. I mean, he just played very safe in terms of not playing too nuts. I mean, you see like a guy like Ricky Fowler when he's in the lead, and he's still just as aggressive as ever, which I think could be a little bit of a mistake, because then you see him hitting it in the water, hitting it into the trees, getting himself into crazy situations where he can put up a big number in a hurry. Haddam was just playing real steady. He made one mistake, but held his composure, parred the last couple holes, waited. Cantlay looked just brilliant. I thought for sure Cantlay was going to put it away because he was looking great off the tee. His approach game, putting, everything was just coming together perfect for the kid. Seemed like it was going to be like the real Cinderella story after the guy's barely played over the last 3 years. And then to come back, and then he would have gained all of the exemptions and things. It was one of the most fun tournaments I think we've seen as far as the final round this year. It was a little bit tricky in terms of some of the chalkier plays. Some of those guys went a little off the rails. We'd been pretty reliant on guys like Luke Donald down in the Florida stretch. I thought Steve Stricker had been good here over the years, and he's usually very good at making the cut. He was the one guy out of about 8 core plays that I had.
It was frustrating because we were both right there with our core. We nailed just about everybody, but it was like 2 or 3 guys. Edge. Yours was Stricker. My downfall was Chris Kirk. And, of course, Billy Horschel nipped us both a little bit. But we were very close. I broke about even. I was up a little bit in GPPs, but very, very close to just scoring huge.
Yeah, I mean, if Stricker makes a cut for me or Kirk makes it for you, then we've got dozens of finishes in the top couple hundred of the birdie and of the dog leg, which would have been great. But, I mean, that's you just kind of keep moving with that. And it was a struggle for some guys. I mean, like Gary Woodland had his first real off week where he made the cut and then just he fell back. Haas was a little slow. Moore got it going there towards the end. CH3, this guy's been really consistent. He fell back.
More people got 6 of 6 through last week, but not a ton more.
No, and the 6 of 6 is like the chalky 6 of 6s. You mean the Haas? Graham Dillette was super chalky. It took a charge back on the final day for him to kind of work his way back up a little bit. So when you look at the top 10, Charles Schwartzel makes this great charge. Well, everybody came off of him. Everybody heard the same news on Wednesday that he got hit in the hand with a ball in the pro-am.
The amateur he's playing with.
It's just amazing. I mean, it's just, you're thinking, well, he's screwed. He's going to have trouble gripping the club. For sakes. And then he's out there.
But I will say the news, so that kind of hurt you on Schwartzel, but it finally helped.
If you paid attention to Thomas, and Berger all skipping the pro-am.
Because they're sick and they all miss.
And that's just a good philosophy overall. And I had tiny shares of Berger. I should have gotten rid of, I had about 15% in the GPPs. And I thought to myself, okay, everybody's moving off of him. And I just decided to make the contrarian play that week of, I'm just going to keep my shares settled
Yep.
of him here this week, because guys skip the pro-ams all the time.
I know.
And you never know why. And
know.
so if he skipped it and was fine, and he plays well, and it could give you a little bit of an advantage. I felt obviously a little bit of a regret there, but all in all, if you'd owned him at like 30 or 40%, I would have cut back. Then you go down to like 10 or 15, and you take your chances. But so I wasn't unhappy with leaving him there. I was just incredibly unsatisfied overall with the results. So a lot of those guys who are normally pretty chalky. And again, like Justin Thomas, I don't know really what to make of the guy.
I know.
Right now,
Either wins the tournament or misses the cut.
Which is crazy. I guess he needs probably, I think, to pick a little better schedule. Because I mean, it's clear now that there's courses like PGA National, like Copperhead. These courses don't work for him.
Right.
These are grinder type of courses. I mean, yes, I know he's had somebody will tweet, well, he took this place and he's done well before, but they don't seem to set up for him
generally
nearly
speaking
as well.
Right.
As some of the courses that he's had success on. So I think he probably needs to make some adjustments. Like a lot of because there's plenty of top level players who just skip this stretch here and say, I'm not going to play. You don't see Dustin Johnson down here.
Nope.
And he could do just fine. You don't see a lot of the other bombers down here either. So I think he probably just needs to make some adjustments and just say, I know I'm from the South, but maybe these events I don't show up for those. So it was a good event overall. It was a lot of fun. Both of us were. I think you were even. I was ahead, but it could have been 5 figures ahead, and instead it was just 3 to 4 figures.
Yeah. Well, I had a ton of Henley, Stenson, Hadwin stacks all on the same team. I had several bullets with those 3 guys, just that I couldn't get 6 of 6 with all 3 of them through. So Well, we turn the page. We're going to stay in Florida. Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill, of course. The course is 7,400 yards, par 72. One key item to note this week is it is an invitational, so only 120 players in the field. So generally speaking, it should be easier to get 6 of 6 through the cut, but you just never know. We're going to talk in our articles a little bit about our strategy with a reduced field and how we're going to play that, so be sure to check those out. Key stats this week, Zachary, just the normal: strokes gained tee to green, putting, birdies are better, par 5, proximity, I think pretty much will work this week. Looking at the field, it's a stacked field for the most part. Only a few key names missing.
Yeah, right up at the top. And there was some discussion today on a few people on Twitter who were a little on the disappointed side that certain players would skip the event because they should be honoring Arnold a little bit more. But, it gets tough this time of year. The main focus is being ready for Augusta in a few weeks. And they lay these schedules out.
Oh, yeah, and money.
Months in advance. Yeah.
Because they're not going to miss Mexico. Free paycheck.
Yeah, down in Mexico. Well, and then they got the match play. The match play
next
coming
week,
up. Yeah, exactly. So you got the 2 big events there like that.
A lot of prize money in those. I think there's like 1.9 million up for grabs with like a 70-player field.
A lot of points. Yeah, I mean, so those are key. And this is a good one. This is a good stretch where, like of course, like last week, Copper, that's not going to fit everybody's game anyway. It's going to make a lot of people look pretty bad if they show up there. So I don't have any real issue with him skipping that. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see him come out and pay tribute, I guess. But I think most of these guys probably have done this, have paid their tribute to Arnie and his family, and so it's I'm happy with the field that's here, because we're gonna see some later on in the season where we would love to see this.
That's right.
This group in the mix. So.
Starting up top, obviously Rory, Henrik, Jason Day, Hideki, Ricky, Justin Rose. I think up top the most popular is going to be Rory or Stenson.
I think Stenson.
Yeah.
Just for consistency.
I think they'll be neck and neck.
Rory gained a lot of folks on board a couple weeks back because his price was lower than what we typically see for Rory, but now it's back up to 12.
Yep.
It's a cut event, so you have to, and there's actually a lot of value. I mean, when you look at the pricing this week, up at the top, it's fine. I didn't have huge issues at the top, but there's a handful of guys again that are just thrown out there as like free spaces for you. Towards the bottom, I'm thinking, I know Charles Hall III didn't look great, but I mean, 6,900. That's just a silly price. People always own him anyways. Why would he go down? He hasn't even missed a cut.
I know.
So it seems really silly that he would drop down. There's 5 or 6 guys in the 6,000 range. You can go all the way down to the minimum salary even this week and find guys that I think are definitely playable. Roy does tend to be popular.
Especially in the high dollar.
That's what I was going to say, for the higher dollar games. So I think if you look at like the $3, you'll see him, probably in like that 15% range.
I think he'll hit 20.
And then you see him as you get to the 33, it'll be like 18. And if you go up to the 300 game, probably over 20 to 25.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Somewhere in that area right there. But Stenson's track record here has been so good. The tournaments in Florida here really line up well for a player like Stenson, where he's not having to hit driver.
Well, he lives like 20 minutes from the course. So.
Yeah, and so he's very comfortable here. He's got 4 straight top 10s. I think just consistency of finish will have folks on him. And I don't think he'll win again this week, and he was a strange week for him too, because he actually was putting pretty well throughout the weekend, but his tee to green play was what was off for him. I mean, after Thursday, I thought, well, he could just cruise here. And then he didn't really do anything for the rest of the week. But I think just consistency of play, people will be on him. Jason Day is interesting at...
what to make of Jason Day?
Well, yeah, and then this is the situation last year, and you were all over him coming in here after he really hadn't done very much.
Right.
And it might be a good time to get back on board, because I think there's going to be plenty of Rory owners and plenty of Stenson owners, and I think there'll be plenty of Hideki owners, so they might be the forgotten man.
He could be
in that range a little bit.
And there's a lot of good options in the high 8s and 9K range too, if people choose to drop down. I think there's going to be some attention on Paul Casey this week.
For sure.
You got Thomas Peters there at 8,700. Zach Johnson is going to draw some ownership this week at 85 with his track record here.
Molinari, for sure. Yep. He's been actually very popular within the DFS world.
Right.
He hasn't been a guy who's been as big of a name, but I think with more people playing the Euro Tour events and seeing what he's done over the last year over there, he's a guy who pops up quite a bit. All of those guys right there in that range look really strong, because in the lower 8,000, Hadwin's now 8,400. That's a tricky one.
That is going to be difficult to predict ownership on.
I still like him. I still think he's a pretty solid cash play. I like his chances this week of making the cut and doing reasonably well. I don't know if I can overload on him the way that I have been in recent, because when he was just 6,800 every week, well, just if going 40, 50% on him opened up so much cap space for me at the top. But I don't get that now that he's at average salary. So I think I will probably still own him this week. It'll probably just be more like a secondary type of a play for me.
A lot of Euro guys that are attractive to me. Again, you got the Norin at 7,700.
Can you go back to him?
I can go back to him, yeah.
Yeah, you're that comfortable with his game.
Yeah, I'm not going to load up on him, because if you look at his last, I think, 4 outings, they have not been good after he had his,
all of his
huge
wins.
run. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But I'll own some Norin, but then you also have my guy Keimer in the field too at 7,400.
He's underpriced. I don't know how his price is so low. Even same with Charles Schwartzel down at 7,400. I think that's another one that just leaps up, especially after he looked so good in his final round over the weekend.
I think he's ranked like 27th in the world, and he's priced at like number 30 or 31 this week in DraftKings. That just doesn't make sense.
Why is he below Bubba Watson right now? I don't understand.
I don't think anyone's going to own Bubba this week.
I don't
think I have any interest
There were
either.
still people who had him last week. And
I think that was the last straw, though. He was so bad.
And there were people, it was crazy to watch him. Yeah, there was one very big player out there, one very big pro who was almost 100% Bubba. You know who it is. And he's a guy who goes ultra contrarian, and he goes very heavily ultra contrarian, so that when the chalk misses, home run for him, which we've seen work out to 6 and 7 figure wins many times. But it didn't work last week. It's going to be tough to go back to him.
But he just can't putt.
No,
he can't do much good, but his putting is atrocious.
Yeah,
anything within a few feet, he's pushing badly.
It was really bad. So he looks just a little bit lost. I think Kevin Na is a guy that will probably be a good bounce back for me at 7. Yeah. So he was feeling a little sick. He's a guy who's kind of weak-minded sort of guy to begin with.
I thought the same thing too.
To throw that out there.
That's why I dropped. I had zero ownership of him last week.
I should have taken that into consideration. Like you hear Jason Day or Kevin Na or
Henrik Stenson. If you know it's going to be that way.
Yes, I should have been smarter. I should have just thought, these guys are not the kind of guys who just power through and get to Saturday and then they're feeling better.
That's right. Yep.
I think this week he bounces back.
I do too. He has a good track record here.
7,600 is a great price for him. I think he's a go in all formats. So
agree. And Kisner's right there at 7,600, and he seems like a legit
super
play
solid,
there too.
locked in form right now. I like that quite a bit as well. Drop it down. There's a couple other guys. Wesley Bryan at 7,100. Maybe he's like the new Hadwin now. He just can't get any respect. 3 straight top 10s. Obviously pretty comfortable on the Florida swing of golf here. So, I think I probably will. I can't see why I wouldn't stick with him there. That's 7,100. And then Byung-Hun An. He's a guy we've talked about him before, who lives in the area. Moved there when he was younger, I think in his high school years. So although he's Korean, that lots of familiarity with this area, and he's been pretty good overall on the season in terms of making cuts. So for 7,000, his price went down. I think a lot of people were on him last week, and he made the cut, but he wasn't great overall. But I think this week's course fits him quite a bit better than last week overall. So I will probably, whereas I did not own shares last week, I will probably be on there this week.
How about your friend, Mr. Wang? No offense. Hey, Wang, what's with the pictures? It's a parking lot.
I don't know.
6,900. Mr. Wang, any interest?
I don't think so.
No.
Are you on him?
I'll have a couple shares. The dude is like, he either wins or he's like the Justin Thomas of the European Tour. Either wins or misses the cut.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him flash before a couple times, but I think I'll probably wait to see what he does over here before I jump on him too much.
Brooks Koepka.
6,900.
God damn.
Now he's at a price where we got to talk about it.
Sickening.
Now we got to talk about it though.
At some point,
I mean,
dude's gonna.
Now he's only $400 above men's salary. So now there's some consideration that has to go into saying, do we make our move here, or are we just gonna believe that Koepka he's done? And if you do make a move, how aggressive? Because if I'm going in, I don't want to own 5%,
right?
Because it's not going to do me any good. He's either going to make a huge push and have a top 20 kind of week, or he's going to miss the cut again.
I feel about him like I feel like Bubba, like he's just lost right now.
Right, and that's what's tough. There's parts of his game that are just, they're broken right here. And Koepka is a form type of player where he plays well for very long stretches and terrible for long stretches.
Because he checks out mentally. And until he gets something positive going.
So
we saw it
We watched it
firsthand.
in person in Boston as he's trying to make the cut on that Saturday afternoon, because that was round 2, it was that Saturday. And he's on that par 5, and he hits the ball. He hits the second shot. He's going for the green. And he hits it into kind of those weeds over there. And he's walking up to the green. He picks up his club and just slams it into his bag. And both of us kind of looked at each other and thought, he's done.
That's it.
I mean, he's done. And of course, he chunked it from there. He bogeyed the hole and went on to miss the cut. I mean, at that point, he was still alive. Everything was fine. He just needed to take a breath, get up and down, get out of there, par the hole, and move on. And it would have been just fine. But instead, you could see it got into his head. And I think there's still some maturity issues there. We're seeing that out of some of the younger guys right now.
Right.
It's the same thing with Thomas.
Yeah.
We saw it a couple weeks ago when he was in Mexico, when he chucked his club twice.
Yeah.
You do it once, okay, I guess I understand a little bit of the frustration. You do it on the tee box, knock it off. Right? You need a little bit of composure there. So,
and then the last I saw of Koepka, it was a couple weeks ago. I forget what tournament
he
it
was in Mexico, and he had a couple.
No. It was the one prior to that where he snapped his club on like the first hole of day 2.
Was it the Genesis?
I think it was Genesis, and he didn't look like he was going to make the cut. But if he would have made a run, he had a chance. And right away, snapped his club on the first hole, checked out completely. Just absolutely brutal. So.
It's tough because I think if you're finally gonna make the move, you have to make like a real
20%.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say 20-25%. You have to follow your conviction on it. I don't know if I have that conviction.
This wouldn't be the worst week in the world because the easier cut rate, only 120 player field, and you get him to the weekend. I think maybe if he gets something positive going. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to recommend them. Check out my column. I'll decide by then.
Right. It's still only Monday, so that's the tough part. We just got the prices a few hours ago, so we're still going to marinate a little bit. Got to kind of take our time a little.
Anyone else you want to talk about down below? Or you want to save them for your column?
I'm going to save them. There's
Okay.
a lot of them. There's a lot of good ones this week. In previous
I
weeks,
agree.
we've been a little bit limited, and now it's kind of back to there's 5 or 6 guys that down there that I will definitely be playing this week, and so I'll save those guys for the daily spin.
Sounds good. Be sure to check us out at fantasygolfinsider.com. We're at Fantasy Golfers on Twitter. I will mention this is available as a podcast on iTunes as well as Stitcher, so you can give us good reviews there. Also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. For this week, the Arnold Palmer Invitational, best of luck to everybody. Let us know how you're doing, and good luck.
Good luck.